When I need answers about anything to do with personal growth, I go straight to my mom and my aunt. Here they are, Priscilla Babin and Tina Gilliat with the sister sauce. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sister Sauce. I'm Priscilla, and I got my beautiful sister Tina with me today for our episode 30.
Woohoo! 30.
What?
We're all grown up.
We're so grown up. What you doing today, Tina?
I am just looking forward to a non-packed weekend. After the last couple of weeks, we've had so
Really?
much going on. Last week was the conference, and I will report that it went well. Standing
There you
ovation.
go.
Whoop.
Uh-huh.
Was
Uh-huh. I tell
disappointed
you.
in the failure of technology, but
Yeah,
it didn't have anything to do with my speech. So that
there
was
you
all
go.
good. I was excited. Kind of got me all warm and fuzzy. And Livia graduated from UNO this week. So, yeah, for college
Yay, Olivia.
graduation,
Woo.
a house full of college graduates. Love it.
Nice.
And we've got Mother's Day coming up this weekend, too.
Yes, I'm looking forward to. I'm actually having some one-on-one time with Clover,
That's
which will be
wonderful.
fun. I'm looking forward to that. And there's a bit of a lull in the work on my house, so I don't expect to have anybody too much in the house over the weekend, which is good. We'll have some private TV viewing time and maybe we'll have, I don't know, snacks, hopefully healthy snacks, not too many
Yeah.
carbs. And maybe we'll use my oldest sent me a lovely care package of self-care items, face
Oh, yeah.
masks and things and warm socks and stuff. So I'm gonna try all that out. And my boys are going to an anime conference and together and having brother time, which is so cool. And that really warms the cockles of my mother heart. So I'm
That's
happy about that too.
awesome.
So
That is
they
so
won't be
awesome.
with me, but I'm feeling the love all over the place. So
Well,
that's
that's
good.
great. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
You got some spicy hot sauce today?
I do. My hot sauce is something we've touched on in the past, more than touched on, but just sort of a reminder. So, two different things happened this week with social media that I saw. One is that on TikTok, there is a certain TikTok account that runs all of these 911 calls. And I know that I have listened to those calls before. There's no video, obviously, there's just audio, but they're actual 911 recordings of people calling 911. And some of them are very interesting, and some of them are connected to stories that lots of people have heard about. And so I've gotten interested in a few. And so, therefore, you know how the algorithms work, I get bombarded with them. And there was one in particular that I listened to this week, and it was a little 5-year-old calling 911 because she had awakened in the middle of the night to what sounded like gunshots, although she was little and she wasn't sure. And she went into her parents' bedroom to see what was the noise in the middle of the night. And she discovered both her parents dead and bleeding, and just her little voice and that phone call to 911. And I won't go into a lot of details because of time limitations, but I will just say that that 911 operator deserved a reward for how well she handled it. She was very good at distracting the little girl from the fact that she had just discovered her parents dead, and didn't jump to any conclusions about what might have happened, just asked basic questions, and also just kept encouraging the little girl and telling her how well she did and everything. But the call ends with the 911 operator, the dispatcher, hanging up as you can hear the policeman at the door talking to the little girl and telling her it's okay to hang up. And so you don't know the rest of the story. I realized, which doesn't happen often, there was a text block at the top of the screen that actually had the little girl's name, first and last name. And so I Googled it because I felt like this is not often that they have a name associated. This must have been a big case that received a lot of publicity. So I Googled the little girl's name and found a bunch of different articles on the internet about it. And it apparently happened like 17 years ago.
Mm.
So this little girl is now a lady, 22 years old. And at least the later posts that I found said that it had happened 17 years ago. It might be even longer than that. But this young lady is in her 20s now, nevertheless. And the follow-up video that I found was one from a woman who said, I'm not going to play the full 911 clip, but I wanted to explain the situation that happened with this little girl. And she went on to explain that it was unfortunate. It was a case where a neighbor thought that the little girl's parents had called the police on him, and it wasn't true. He had not. But he went over to their house and killed them in their bedroom. And I guess he shot the mom first because it looked like the dad was trying to get away when the dad got shot. But at any rate, what the whole point of this follow-up video was, the young woman that recorded it said, here's what I want to say. People will share these kinds of videos over and over and over again. And in this case, this little girl's name is on it. And she is now a young woman trying to survive in life and get past this previous trauma that happened to her as a child. But how can she get past it if it's all over and people
Mhm.
are hearing the story and seeing her name and knowing who she is? It's such a violation of her privacy.
Mhm.
And it really moved me because you and I have talked about multiple times, and we talked about it on our social media episode, that people tend to keep posting these old stories about tragic things that happened involving children in some way. And they repeat these posts, and sometimes the posts get twisted and exaggerated. So it's not only bad because it's making families, maybe of a child that was killed or a child that's missing,
Mhm.
keep reliving all this stuff, but it's also not always accurately portrayed. And
Mhm.
so that was one of the things that I saw on social media that upset me and made me get all hot saucy. But the other one was a friend of mine who I have great respect for posted a picture. She shared a post that contained a picture of a little girl walking to school, and it was taken from behind, so you don't see the little girl's face. However, it was the girl's mother that had shared the picture with a whole long post about how her daughter had been disrespectful and she will not tolerate that from her child. And you should not tolerate that from your children. And if you disrespect me, then you will figure out a way to get to school without being given a ride. And so she made her daughter walk to school. I don't know for how long, if it was for a whole week or a month or a day or what. But obviously, the child was not old enough to walk to school unsupervised. And so she followed her in the car and took this picture of her from behind and goes on to say, this is what I did as a mom. And while I applaud her for coming up with disciplinary methods that she thinks will work for her child, why did she have to post that?
Mhm.
It's look at me, I'm being a good parent, yay me. And in the process, let me just humiliate my child because this will be on the internet forever,
Mhm.
especially since the post went viral.
Mhm.
And it's just so incredibly disappointing because humiliation should not be a form of discipline. It should
Mhm.
not. And people posting their children's business on Facebook. Look, I raised a drug addict for 14 years, and I don't think I ever once posted anything that would be embarrassing or humiliating to him. I might have posted something that said, please pray for him. He's struggling, something along those lines, but never. And in fact, someone, I had posted a picture of him a while back, and someone commented and said, your post about your son, now he's passed away, of course, but they said, your posts about your son have always endeared me to him. Even before he passed away, you always spoke so highly of him and with such love. And I'm
Mm,
like, that's because he's my kid. I loved him. I still love him. He's my child. So
mhm.
what's wrong with this picture that you feel like you have to humiliate your kid publicly to get your 5 minutes of fame? No, it's not cool. Don't do it. And if you're patting yourself on the back for being a great parent, then shame on you because you
Mhm.
should be a great parent without an audience. That is
Yep,
all. Thank you.
I agree 100%. 100%. Shame is so hard to shake off, even when you come by it unnaturally, when you feel ashamed of things you don't need to be feeling ashamed of. But when your parent puts it on you,
Ooh,
that is evil. That is not what Jesus would do. And the fact that
amen.
people are sharing and liking it who call themselves Christian makes me sick.
Yeah.
Absolutely sick.
And yeah, and I think about it and I think how many stupid things did I do as a kid? I don't think even if social media had existed when we were kids, I don't think our mother would have ever posted anything like that on
No.
social media. She was very good about punishing us in private or
Mhm.
chastising us, not that we were ever punished severely. She didn't have to because we wanted her respect so badly that we behaved ourselves, and she in turn respected us, and never would have broadcast our business to everybody. And I'm thankful for that because now I'm 63 years old. I don't have to see articles on the internet about the time I wet the bed. you know,
Mhm.
I mean, seriously, what is wrong with people? Okay, I'm done. I know I said I was done before, but I'm done now. This is a topic that upsets me because I don't
Yep.
believe in humiliating children. They're still growing and maturing, and even young adults in their early 20s and late teens, they're still learning about life. Why would you want to put them down when they screw up? That's how we learn.
I have and you made me think of an excellent comparison here. We're in a time when people have realized, I don't know if anybody's heard the term doxing, but to dox someone is to give documentation to a person who may not have been previously known to have done something naughty or said the wrong thing. Maybe they um posted, maybe they sent something insulting to a celebrity or something like that. But to dox them would be to publicly show their, personal information, their name, email address, home address, phone number, their social media tags, whatever, is this, identifying contact information of that person. It's called doxing, and
Yeah,
it is generally understood to be a bad thing to do to someone. People still do it because people suck, but and those are adults. Why would you dox your own child?
exactly.
It's just very, very sad.
Yeah,
Very
it is.
sad.
And it's all for their own 5 minutes of fame. You know it. They're just
Look at,
trying
yeah,
to
look at me. Look
me.
at,
I'm a great parent. I did this humiliating thing to my child and I showed him, yeah, you showed him all right. He's going to change his behaviors, but guess what? He's not going to have any respect for you when he grows up.
no, and
Like with
they're
that
going to end
mom.
up in therapy,
Yep,
having to deal with this later. And their therapist is going to know exactly what they're talking about because they'll have seen it on the internet, because it'll still be there, because it's impossible to get rid of that stuff once it's out there.
Yeah.
You can't suck it back in. You can't
Oh,
delete it once
it's the
other people have seen it.
you know how Facebook comes up with the memories from
Mhm.
previous years, like on this day, 5 years ago, you posted this. I look at that every day. And if I ever come across a post where I was being negative, unless it was, like justified, like talking about my frustrations with a medical bill or whatever, uh, if I was being negative in such a way that I was like discussing another person, which please believe me when I say that I rarely do anything like that. And I certainly don't name the person. But anytime I see something like that, that I look at and I say, okay, I'm not proud of that post. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And I do, because I know for a fact I have a YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel as Sensei Sisters. And our videos, even if we delete them off our YouTube channel, there are so many other platforms that have picked up our videos, and we're not even popular. Can you imagine things that go viral, how those videos get downloaded or screen recorded and shared on other things? Yeah. No. I don't want, when I die, I want my legacy to be a positive one. I don't want a lot of nastiness posted about me after I'm dead that says, hey, Tina, I mean, I'm careful about what I text people. I've been verbally attacked by people in text, and I have responded and said, I'm sorry you feel that way. Because I am not going to play that game where you're going to screenshot my text and share it.
Mhm. Yep.
Very upsetting. All right. Let's move on to a happier topic, which we have today.
Yeah, we're gonna share some happy stories from news.
It
We have a
sort of reminded me, remember John Krasinski had the
mhm,
Some Good News thing he
yep.
started in. Oh, that's what it reminded me of when we settled on this topic. I thought, oh, I love that.
Mhm.
So for people who don't know that or don't remember it, John Krasinski during the early days of COVID, when everybody was like banned to their house and we were all quarantining, John Krasinski started this YouTube channel called Some Good News. And then there was a Facebook page that was created, and he eventually turned it over to some people to administer it. And it was just so cool because everybody could post good news stories on there. And I actually had a post that went viral on there, which really tickled me to no end. I always tease AJ and say, whenever I post about you, it always goes viral. Any viral post I have, somewhere in it, AJ's in it. I don't know what it is. Like if ever I do a TikTok, they're not viral, but if you go look at my TikTok views, the videos AJ's, the videos that AJ is in are the ones that have the most views. The
Yep.
ones that are just me, it's like 3 views.
Mr.
The
Popular.
ones AJ's in 1,300 views. I'm like, what? But anyway, so funny. But yeah, I had posted about him graduating from UNO with his bachelor's degree when he was only, or when he was 67, and how proud I
Mhm.
was of him for doing that. And that post went viral. It was shared like, I want to say it was shared like 1,000 times, and it had like thousands and thousands of reactions. I don't remember what the numbers were, but I was blown away by the reaction I got from that post. So I was tickled with that. But Some Good News, that was the name of it. You can go look it up. I
Mhm.
don't see anything much from it anymore. So I don't know if
No.
the group kind of died down or the page. I don't remember if it was a group or a page. But John Krasinski always shared all these little good news things. And that's what we're going to talk about
Yep.
today. Yay. You want to go first?
Sure. We got these from two different websites. One is called goodnewsnetwork.org and one is actually today. It's today.com.
Today.com. It's the Today Show, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you can look these up yourself and find lots more. We just picked six of them that we liked, especially that we thought were fun or especially heartwarming or interesting. So I'm going in order from uh the calmest to the most exciting one.
Oh, okay.
So I have got like a interesting one and then a real heartwarming one and then a crazy one. So, but shall we take turns one and then the other back and forth?
Sure, that
That
sounds
sounds
good.
good. Ha, jinx.
It'll give my jaw a break in between. I had physical therapy this morning. So
Oh yeah, relax your jaw while I'm reading. So
there you go.
this one is especially interesting to me right at this moment because I me and my kids like to watch TV together and we've been going through different series and we have ones that have been current that we watch, we wait until they gets uploaded to whatever streaming network they put them on after they come on regular TV and we watch them like the next day. And but then we started watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is a really good show, and we're almost done and we're gonna start watching Parks and Rec together. And that was one I had been watching by myself. So I was like, oh, I better put that off till I'm watching with the kids and I needed something to watch. So I started watching the I think it's 1996 Pride and Prejudice miniseries with Colin Firth and Jennifer Ely, and it's my favorite. And it's like 6 episodes or 8 episodes, I forget. But I started watching that while when I'm folding clothes or eating my lunch or whatever. So I finished it this morning while I was eating my breakfast, and I was like, maybe I'll watch Sense and Sensibility, but that's on DVD, so I'd have to go put it in. So I was doing other stuff, but I've been in a Jane Austen frame of mind lately, so that's why this one kind of really perked up my knowledge, my not knowledge, my interest. It's there's the title is Thousands Volunteer to Help Jane Austen Museum Solve the Mystery of Spidery Script in Brothers Biography. And by spidery, they mean like hard to read. Um, if you've ever, I don't know if anybody has ever seen it. It's a really good movie about Jane Austen, and I can't, my mind is blanking on who's all in it, but it's a really good little movie. It's a, you know, historical fiction. So we're not really sure that all the details, some of the details are true and some are fabricated, but it's really good about her life. And I think it's called Becoming Jane. That might be a different movie. I don't know. But if y'all are into Jane Austen, you can look it up and it's really entertaining. But the uh the thing that's interesting here is that an event happened in the domain of classic English literature. They found a 78-page memoir from Jane Austen's brother, and it made its way to the Jane Austen House Museum, and they couldn't read it because the handwriting was difficult. I mean, you can imagine people have probably seen like old copies of stuff. Even the Constitution is just like, what's that say? It's like it doesn't even have to be in script, and it's hard to read sometimes because things are old and different types of ink and whatnot, and different types of pens back then. So it's not like today. But they decided to do sort of a citizen science project. And they initially they invited anyone who was interested to email a request for a single page, and they could try to transcribe it. But despite the fact that she's been gone over 200 years, the response from her fans was just out of this world. It was crazy. The numbers, they almost broke the museum's email server, sending so many emails. And so her brother, Sir Francis Austen, had a long career in the Royal Navy, and a manuscript biography of his life and a book of watercolor paintings he made were both acquired at an auction by the Jane Austen House Museum, with a nonprofit had backed the finances for them to purchase that. And along with those pages that he wrote about being in the Navy and all the places he traveled to, and his things about his childhood and everything, and living with his sisters, it's got all kind of detail that they didn't have before, because Jane Austen was a very private person.
Yeah.
And even like they have not found a lot of her private correspondence. And even in her private correspondence, she was very secretive, and she would use like there was messages between her and her sister and some of her friends where you could tell that she was wording things so that they would know what she was talking about, but anybody reading it wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily in code, but she would allude to things, but not really say it. So they
Right.
don't really know. That's why the movie that they came out with about her is kind of, they had to, insert their own assumptions into it and guesses. And it makes you really hope that that's kind of how things went, or maybe that her life was better than what was in the movie, because she didn't have much success in love, unfortunately. Not like her own characters. So, but
Well, she didn't even have success as an author until after she died. From what
right.
her popularity anyway wasn't there.
Uh-huh. But so they got lots and lots of feedback, and now they have this another piece to the puzzle that can go in a museum. And they said it's just fascinating to look at, and it's filling in details that surrounded her life, at least, and sees a little bit more through her eyes and through her family's eyes of what their experience was back then. His book is written in his manuscript is written in the third person, and the last third was likely done as he was older and had arthritis, maybe, and it makes the penmanship spidery, as they put it. So it's really hard for people to read. And so that's why they needed help with it. And so it's just really cool. They said within 24 hours, they had received thousands of responses, which is just wild. So they're still working on it. They're still going through all the responses and trying to see, comparing and saying, oh, does this, I'm sure they're saying, oh, does that look like what that really says? Because they can't, I'm hoping that they're not just assuming what
It's
people are
kind of
saying is what
like
it
me and
says.
AJ trying to decide what they're saying on the Deadly Devotion commercial. We've always settled. We've finally settled on dial your fours up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, because every time I hear it now, that's all I can hear
I know.
since you
Yeah,
told
it
me
was.
that. But I hadn't
I
really
came up
heard it
with the
before.
dial, but I thought they were saying funds, and then I saw somebody else predicting that they was saying count your fours up, and I was like, oh, fours, that makes sense. Dial your fours up because it's the
Because
phone
that's the
number.
number. 44444.
Sorry, Jane Austen. Get back to Jane Austen.
Well, that's pretty much the whole story. They're still trying to, but that's really cool that they were able to get some more inside information.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
but it made me think of poor Olivia trying to read people's handwriting on the church sign in.
I know. That's what I immediately thought of when you said all the thousands of people that were responding. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know there were that many people that could read cursive. Because so many of the kids don't know how to read cursive anymore, thanks to them taking it out of the schools for a while. I think it's back into
Well,
most.
I mean, and people's handwriting, if
Yeah,
I
true.
wrote something down in cursive and gave it to somebody who can read cursive, they still probably wouldn't be able to read it because my handwriting is poop.
Well, one little trick that we use, and this was my husband's genius idea, which made absolute sense, was when Livia's doing the attendance recording and somebody signed in script and she can't read their signature, we look at who signed above and below them, and then we go on the video and on the live stream and see who was sitting between those two people.
You have to hit
Great
the
way to figure
communion
it out.
section so you can see them coming back, so you can see their face.
Exactly, exactly. Sometimes we can tell from the back of their head. All right, so I have
That
a
looks
great
like
one too. And the funny thing is, all three of my stories, I just realized have some connection to social media, and that was not intentional. So after I kind of fussed about social media earlier. These are the good things about social
The
media. So,
pros. We did the cons. We did some of the cons. But we've
yeah.
talked about pros and cons of social media before, so people know that we go back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to save my favorite one for last. But the first one is about a viral Burger King veteran. So this gentleman worked at Burger King for 27 years and never missed a day of work, right?
Wow.
And so, like on the 27th anniversary of his time at Burger King, they made this big deal out of an awards like ceremony for him because he had never missed a day of work in 27 years, which is just incredible to me. Now, we have a mother who worked for 35 years as a college professor and also
Mhm.
never missed a day of work. I think except one. I think she missed
Mm.
one day when she had the flu, but it was later in her career. So she probably went 30 years straight without missing a day of work. Now,
Oh.
granted, she was a college professor, so she got some breaks in there. But that is the work ethic of our mom, and that is the work ethic of Kevin Ford, who was this Burger King employee, precious little guy. Well, someone posted the video on TikTok. It might have been his daughter posted the video of him being honored for his 27 years of perfect attendance at work. And it went viral. Everybody loved it. They fell in love with him. And people started saying, oh, we need to do something for this guy. So his daughter started a GoFundMe for him. And I think the GoFundMe originally was intended to help him buy a car and just pay some bills. But the GoFundMe ended up collecting more than $450,000,
Folks.
right? So he was able to buy a house and he bought a house and then he still had enough money to buy a car and then he started helping other people in his family and also in the community and it just goes on and on and on. He's just so excited to be honored. He wrote a message. He said, I want to thank everyone from around the world for what you've done for me. Something I never thought would be possible for me, home ownership. Isn't that crazy? And he said, now my kids and my grandkids have a place to come visit me. So I thought that was just incredibly sweet. He actually showed a video of his house and kind of took people on a tour of his house and just such a sweet story. It's nice to see people, so many GoFundMe's out there that are from malicious intent and not
Mhm.
really true stories. And this little guy
Mhm.
deserved it more than anything. And I thought one of the cute things about it was a lot of people who would have normally donated like $25 donated 27 to honor his 27 years on the job. So I thought that was cool. He said, I tell people all the time that if you have lost your faith in God, your beliefs are just like, hold me up as an example. Just look at what the world has done for this perfect stranger.
Mm.
So sweet. I love it.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, our next one is actually got local ties, which we didn't realize at first when we first saw the title of the article. It says Knicks players, former high school student coach, excuse me, is his roommate for a heartwarming reason. So the Knicks center, Mitchell Robinson, invited his coach, Book Stockton, to come and live with him in New York and get his mind back straight, that's in quotes, after Stockton endured a tragedy. Um, the he was Mitchell Robinson, the Knicks center. He's grateful for the mentoring he received from his high school basketball coach in Chalmette, Louisiana.
Yay, Chalmette High School.
There you go. And he wanted to return the favor to his basketball coach in his time of need. He was Robinson invited him. Robinson is 25, so this is a young guy, got, probably lots of social engagements and everything, and he's a popular basketball player, but he still decided to bring his old coach to come live with him in his house in New York. And the reason he did it was because his high school coach's wife had passed away after 31 years. She was 70 years old and had cancer,
Oh,
and she passed away. And he knew about it, and he didn't want his former coach, to be alone, and wanted him to have a safe place to grieve his wife. So he invited him to come live with him. And that's just so sweet. And if you go and you look at the article, he actually posted a tribute to his coach's wife, and it's really, really sweet. It and it's crazy because this is a huge guy, right? He's a basketball center with professional basketball teams, so he's huge. And the lady, the coach's wife, was this little teeny thing, so it looks like, you know, Jack and the Beans. It's like the Green Giant and Sprout, you know. But but he posted that, and he said, Mom, he called her Mama. Mama, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I wish there was something I could have done to keep you here. You've been good to me and Coach Stockton. You'll never be forgotten. Please keep me safe and watch over me like you've been doing. I love you. Rest in peace. So it's so sweet. And it's just really awesome. And his coach said that when his wife was in the hospital, even before she passed, Mitchell showed up every day to visit her and got real close with the two of them, again, renewed their closeness, I guess, after so many years of being out of high school. Not many, because he's still young. But he said that after the funeral, he told everybody that he was going to bring him to New York. So he was going. And he said to him, Coach, there's no reason for you to stay down there in Louisiana anymore. You come to New York with me and enjoy yourself and get your mind back straight, because you know how much I loved your wife and how much I love you. So and he said it's been great living with him. And he's on the sidelines cheering him on when he's playing
aw,
and
that's so cool.
celebrating. So
That's such a
isn't it
great
beautiful?
story. Yeah, I love that. I have another story kind of similar to that. Not exactly, but it's about a relationship between a child and an adult who influenced them. And this one is a foster child who called herself a former wild child. Um, she was searching for her foster mom who had changed her life 40 years ago. 40
Oh,
years
wow.
ago. So she wrote this post on X, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. And this, I'm going to read the post because I know I'm not going to do it justice if I paraphrase it. But it said, I was 12 years old when my mother lost the ability to parent me safely. I was taken from her and put into a huge, scary children's shelter. It took a long time, but they finally found someone who would take in a deeply troubled, rather wild child like me. Mama Essie was a Black woman, and I had a Black foster sister too. A second one came later. So she had three of us little hooligans. And oh, what a hooligan I was. I wasn't all that nice to her. I stole from her. I ran up her phone bill calling my boyfriend. When she put a lock on the dial up phone, I broke it. I was a mess and a handful. I eventually ran away and was put back in the shelter and never saw her again. I'm sure I broke her heart. And the foundation of everything I know about grace, about dignity, about fashion, makeup, hair care, I still use a pick. Elegance, excellence, self care, patience, love, goodness, generosity, and fierceness in the face of pain came from my mama Essie. She was one of the highest ranking civilians in the military in the US, female and Black, no less. In the 80s, She had severe eye issues, maybe even a glass eye. She single parented three hurting foster teens. She owned her own home. In the 1980s, she took a wild, ignorant white child. Y'all, it wasn't done in that area. Talk about badass. Whatever good there is about who I am, where I am, how I am, it is due to the foundation she laid. She showed me kindness, wasn't bowled over by my sass, and taught me things my own mom never did or could. I don't know why she came in my mind today, but the tears are rolling. Oh, I'm going to start crying. The heart is welling, and I so want to honor her today with this little public remembrance. I tried to find her and haven't yet. Mama Essie, if you're still with us, or if you're peering through the windows of heaven, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I heard you, I saw you, you made a difference more than you will ever know.
Mm.
And oh, such a precious post. And then, of course, the post went viral, and somebody knew Mama Essie and got her connected. And she just, it all came together. She ended up on a phone call with today.com, and she was told that they found Mama Essie, and she was shaken. She said she was so happy. And they ended up spending 45 minutes on the phone together. And Mama Essie is beautiful still. And she said that she later posted, uh, Good morning, lovelies. 45 minutes with Essie on the phone last night. It was amazing. So much I forgot. I felt like I've been pacing, wondering. I feel my soul stirring again. I know my story helps people. I feel inspired, infused. I'm here for it. Good things are coming. And I just thought that was such a sweet story. Her name is Hannah Smith, and she is now a licensed therapist in
Mm.
Washington. And Miss Essie is named, Mama Essie is named Essie Gilchrist. And she said, God is good. She was so happy when she learned about Hannah's success as a therapist and a good person. And
Mm.
she was tickled that Hannah posted about her. It meant a lot to her. So
That's
really cool story. And X, formerly known as Twitter, that post is what helped them reconnect.
that's beautiful. I
Isn't that
love it.
beautiful? Yeah, I love
Oh,
it.
well, my last one is an exciting one,
Woohoo.
and it's one of these ones that makes you feel like, wow, maybe, maybe I could be more brave than I am. And maybe I'm not as old as I think I am, Chicago woman, 104,
Woo.
104 skydives from
Oh my
plane,
gosh.
aiming to break record for world's oldest skydiver. Dorothy Hoffner is quoted after she landed as saying, age is just a number. And there is a picture. Y'all got to check out this picture because, when you get older and your skin start to sag, so can imagine coming down and the wind resistance, it's pretty intense. But she is seen falling through the sky. This is, I don't know if she's still around because this was uh almost a year ago that she did it in October. So, it's been like 8 months or whatever. So I don't know. She might still be skydiving, but anyway, she's from Chicago and she was hoping to be certified as the world's oldest person to ever skydive after leaving her walker on the ground. Can't walk good, but she can fall out of plane. And of course, she made the jump tandem, which means a professional skydiver was strapped to her and she was on his chest, so she was down on the bottom. But they, they had a cheering crowd waiting for them at the bottom. And it was about 85 miles southwest off of Chicago where they went to do the jump. And the Guinness World Record book for oldest skydiver was set in May of 22 by 103-year-old Linnea Ingegard Larsson from Sweden. But the skydivers in Chicago want to get her certified for being the new oldest skydiver at 104.
Wow, that is just
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and she actually her first time was that she went skydiving was when she was only 100 years old.
Oh, when she was young,
Yeah, 100.
inexperienced.
Mhm. And so she just kicked that walker aside and she said, let's go, Geronimo." And and so they said the first time she went skydiving, they had to shove her out the plane because she was freaking out a little bit. But this time she wanted to lead the jump and she dragged the skydiver out with her. And they jumped from 13,500 feet.
Wow.
For people who prefer the metric system, that's 4,100 meters. But that's pretty dang high. And they said
Whoosh.
she looked calm, cool, and collected when she jumped out of the plane head first, doing a perfect forward roll into the sky before flying stable free fall with her belly facing the ground. And it said, this is the real thing. I'm like, this is the idea of jumping out of the plane is crazy enough to me, but listen how long it took to land.
That's what I was going to ask if they said anything about that. Because I'm like, how long does it take to go? What was it, 13,000 feet?
Yeah, 13,500 feet. The dive, including after the parachute opened, so where you were going slower,
Lower, right.
7 minutes, which 7 minutes is not a long time to kill if you're waiting to get seated at a restaurant. But think
When you're
about something that
rapidly
is
descending toward the earth.
intense, like getting a drill into your tooth or getting a tattoo or holding your breath, or whatever. Think of things that, where you're really acutely aware of how long the time is taking to pass. But I mean, I guess if you're really enjoying it, 7 minutes. And she was in the sky, so it was like 7 minutes in heaven, right? Wasn't that a
That
thing? High school
that I
when you get
thought about
locked in a
that when you
closet.
said that actually. That is insane. Wow. That sounds like something Miss Henry would have done.
Hmm. Yeah, they said she clung to her harness over her narrow shoulders, picked up her legs, and plopped softly onto the grassy landing area.
Oh,
So
good for her. You go, girl. What
she
was
said
her
it was
name?
wonderful. Um, I gotta go back and find her first name because I forgot. Dorothy
Oh,
Hoffner.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And it said her birthday was in December. So she was almost 105.
I want to be like
Yeah.
Dorothy, but not by jumping out of a plane.
And I said, "What's next for her?" And she said she thought she might like to take a ride in a hot air balloon. I'm like, that sounds pretty tame after
I
doing
know,
swimming.
right? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I love it. There you go, girl. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Good
Oh,
story.
Dorothy.
All right, so my last one is about a lovely couple who became famous on TikTok
Mm.
for sharing about their love story. And they're an interracial couple. The interesting thing to me was that I am baffled that same sex marriage was ever not legal. But the article mentions that interracial marriage was not legal until it's confusing because it sounds like it would have been the 50s, but the article says the 40s. So I'm not sure. But at any rate, this was an interracial couple. The husband was white and or is white, and the wife is black. And when they met and they started dating, neither one of them really thought anything of it. They knew that people might look at them oddly because it wasn't a white widely seen thing that couples, interracial couples, weren't a lot of interracial couples, and at that point, it was roughly 10 years from when interracial marriage had been legalized. But they started posting about their love story on TikTok. And I think it doesn't give the specific date, but I think they got married in the late 50s. But at any rate, they've been married for a very long time, and they're this older couple now, and they're so precious. And they have their own TikTok. I would encourage everybody to go check it out. The TikTok handle is Jerry, Jeri, and Mike. So JeriandMike. I was able to find them and follow them, and they're just so precious. But they began to share photos of their life on TikTok, and they mainly did it so they could connect with their children and grandchildren during the pandemic. Something good that came out of the pandemic, right?
Mm.
And now they have so many followers. I don't know how many. I should go look at their channel and see, but they're so many of their videos have gone viral. And when they first started posting, they created such a response that like 900 people were commenting on their first video, I think it was, or one shortly after they started. And one of the questions that came up was it legal for interracial marriages back in the day? And so then they started saying, responding to those questions. And so it's kind of cool to see. And they have wedding pictures on there and everything. And it's just so absolutely precious. And her name is actually Geraldine, and his name is Mike or Michael. And they're too cute. They asked them, one of the questions they asked was like, when y'all first met, was there like a hesitancy or anything? And he said that he had seen Jerry, Mike had seen Jerry, and he said, I knew that she was a girl that I could be interested in. And she says he was pretty attractive and very mature. And she agreed with him that when she got attracted toward him, race didn't even pop in her head. And it wasn't until they decided to date that they realized that what they were doing was a little unusual. But it was actually the Wurtzes were in high school in 68. So they must have gotten married in the mid to late 70s. And what I loved about it, it said it says Mike and Geraldine were to recall the time they met in 1976. They both had meaningful friendships. So they didn't even meet till 76 with other races. And Mike said, maybe I was naive, but I didn't think anything of it. I thought, I like this girl and she's very attractive and I'm really interested in her. And so they just started dating. And he said, obviously, I realized eventually I was in an interracial type of situation. I didn't feel overwhelmed by it, though, because I think the one thing that helped was eventually when she met my parents, they welcomed her with open arms, and her family did the same for me. And I just thought that was so precious. They have such a wonderful love story. And if either family had been the slightest bit uncomfortable, it might have discouraged them. But both families opened their arms to them. And they have two beautiful children. Their children are gorgeous. And so they did get married in 1977. So they're coming up on, well,
50 years.
50 years going on. Yeah.
Almost.
That is so cool, right?
Yeah.
And that if we're gonna put links to these articles in the show notes, if you get a chance, go look at the picture of them with their kids. I mean, good looking kids, gorgeous. And they still look great for people, and I guess they're in their 70s. Beautiful. Great pictures. These were good stories. My
Yeah.
heart is happy.
Yay. Warm fuzzies.
Do you have anything you want us to marinate on over the coming?
do. I heard an awesome quote. I don't know if I've said it on here before. I feel like I probably have, if not on the Sister Sauce, then on Sensei Sisters. I just love Brene Brown,
Oh, me
who is
too.
a speaker and author, and she's just very wise. She had could have really gotten into that first conversation we had this time about shame. She has a lot to say about shame. But I was listening to her podcast. I only just came across it. Like you would think I would have looked her up to see if she had a podcast, but there have so many people that I follow that I get a little overwhelmed,
Oh,
and it's
yeah, for
a
sure.
lot. And but I came across her podcast the other day, and I was listening to her interviewing a priest, Father Richard Rohr, who is also amazing. For a priest and a man his age to be so loving and unbiased and see the world so clearly as he does, and see people's actions as clearly as he does, and the way his wisdom about things is fantastic. But he was talking about change and how people don't change easily. And Brene said, and this is, I believe this is a pretty direct quote from what she said on the podcast. She said, "Everyone desires transformation, but no one wants to change." And
Mm,
now that just, that knocked me out. I had to write it down immediately. I had to stop listening and write that down because I was like, it's so true. Everybody wants to make a difference, make their life different, experience something different, but they also don't want to leave their comfort zone. And I've always known, I've always talked about, getting outside your comfort zone and how it's difficult and how it's very comfortable in our comfort zones. And there's sometimes myself, I'm like, I have my comfort zone and I am staying in it. Thank you very much. I am firmly rooted here. And I know that, and I'm aware of it. And so the concept of this I've gotten, but I've never heard it worded quite that way. And I just felt like it was just that comparison between transformation and change, because they're kind of the same thing and we don't see them as the same thing.
that's true.
We
It
see
is,
them as
it's very poignant.
congruent. So that's my deep thoughts today.
I like that. There's so many, it's like you said, there's so many quotes too about making steps toward change, but that one is very poignant. It's true. You
Mm,
can't,
that should be on a poster.
it's like physical therapy. You can't get better
Mhm.
without going through the pain of physical therapy,
Mhm.
since I have that on my brain today. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I love that. Very good. I
Woohoo.
love Brene Brown. She's
Oh yeah,
amazing. I've read a couple of books by her. I think I talked about Brene Brown on our podcast where we talked about authors that we liked.
probably.
Yeah, very much. So she's a great speaker too. If you've ever had the chance to watch some of her keynotes, very good
Mhm.
speaker. I
Yeah.
like Brene Brown. Well, that's awesome. Well, this weekend is Mother's Day. And I just
Mhm.
want to encourage people, and I know you will agree with me 100%. Watch your language this weekend with
Mhm.
Mother's Day because everybody's going to be wishing everybody happy Mother's Day. And for some people, Mother's Day is not happy.
Yeah.
If you've lost a child, or if you've never been able to conceive one, or if you've lost a parent or mother in particular, there are tons of reasons why Mother's Day is not the greatest day for a lot of people. So just watch your language and pray for those people that don't have a happy Mother's Day.
Mhm. Yeah.
But until then,
Until then.
make yourself a priority.
And take care of you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to keep up on all the latest sauce. See you next time.